Comparatives. Let's learn how to make comparisons. Hello class, hello everyone. Today we are going to learn about comparatives. It's our last unit, Unit 8. We use comparatives to compare a quality between two people or things. But remember, not more than two elements. This is Mr. Owen and this is Andy. Let's make a comparison using the adjective tall. Mr. Owen is tall. Mr. Owen is taller than Andy. What do we notice? To form the comparative adjective, we use letter E and R. In front of the second person, we find the word than. In red, we have the ingredients needed to make a comparison. So tall becomes taller. And before Andy, there's the word than. Andy is short. Andy is shorter than Mr. Owen. Again, we have another adjective, but at the end we find the same letters, ER, and we find again the word than in front of Mr. Owen. So now we can say that with short adjectives, to make a comparative form, we need to add letters ER and the word than. So long becomes longer than, tall, taller than, short, shorter than, small, smaller than, light, lighter than, old, older than. This is Miss Lee and this is Mr. Green. Miss Lee is nicer than Mr. Green. Again, in red, we have the ingredients needed to make the comparison, but this time only letter R is red because letter E belongs to the adjective. So we need only one letter and the word than in front of Mr. Green, of course. And here we have the spelling rule. With short adjectives ending in E, we need to add only letter R plus the word than. Large becomes larger than. Huge, huger than. Cute, cuter than. Strange, stranger than. Wise, wiser than. Rude, ruder than. Miss Lee is happier than Mr. Green. What do we notice here? We have 3 red letters, but letter Y disappeared. So, before adding ER, we need to change Y in I, and of course, we find again than in front of the second element. The spelling rule says that with short adjectives ending in consonant Y, we need to change Y into I before adding ER. So heavy becomes heavier than, funny, funnier than, pretty, prettier than, lovely, lovelier than, ugly, uglier than, silly, sillier than. Mr. Smith is fatter than Mr. Green. Here the comparison is made using the adjective fat. But what do we notice now? We have here a double T, and below we find letter T in red because the original adjective is composed of 3 letters F, A, T. The spelling rule here says that when we have adjectives formed of a consonant sound, a vowel, and another consonant, we have to double the final consonant before adding ER. So big becomes bigger than, thin, thinner than, hot, hotter than, sad, sadder than, mad, madder than. Well, so far we have talked about short adjectives, but if we have an adjective such as sociable, so a long adjective, what do we do to form the comparative adjective? We need the word more. So with long adjectives, we don't need to add er at the end of it, but we have to put more in front of the adjective. Let's see. Jack is quite sociable. Mike is very sociable. Mike is more sociable than Jack. Of course, we find again the word than in front of the second person. So the ingredients here are more in front of the adjective and then in front of the second element of the comparison. The rule about comparatives says that if you have 2 or more syllable adjectives, you have to add more before the adjective. So, for example, sociable becomes more sociable. Interesting becomes more interesting. Boring becomes more boring. There are also some irregular comparatives. For example, we have good, and the comparative form is not gooder, but it is better. Bad, the comparative form is not better, but it's worse. And far, the comparative form is farther with letter U or father with letter A. And that's all. Okay, I hope you know more about comparatives now. See you next time for superlatives.